Hi, everybody. So that's what I'm going to speak about today, in-app purchase and using AI and machine learning to optimize it. So just to give a background, we've been in the mobile game industry for 15 years, I think. Our last company is Dimedia that we still own. So what made us move from Dimedia, which is a lifestyle company with 200 million downloads, to do a solution that basically offer other game developers AI and machine learning automation? So just a background on Dimedia, it's a private company. We are between California, Israel, and St. Petersburg in Russia. We have 200 million downloads for our racing games, mainly Trial Extreme. It's our #1 game. It got to 143 countries as #1. Apple and Google give us a lot of love with features across the 6 years that the company lives. And it's a lifestyle business, and it's profitable. So life were good, and everything was perfect. And it was too perfect, so we decided to move forward. So this is the challenge that we saw, and that's the opportunity that we understood that we are missing. So 2% conversion rate is considered quite good in the mobile game industry, not to mention racing genre, which is the worst genre in the world in terms of conversion rate, ARPU, etc. So the mirror picture of the 2% conversion rate is 98% conversion rate that we lose. So 98% of the users that are going through the game every day are not going to pay. We got used to this number, but it's crazy. 98% of my audience are not paying. They are playing the game. Maybe they enjoy. Some of them don't really enjoy, but they are not willing to spend money in the game. What makes it even worse is that the average daily churn in mobile games is 50%. And that takes time to understand. So 50% of the people that are playing today will never come back after tomorrow. And every day it's the same. So you start with 100% and go to 50% in good case scenario in day one retention, and then you go to 25%, etc., etc. So every day, half of the users will leave the game. So that's a big challenge and a big opportunity, because if we could keep some of this 50%, all the metrics will be much better. Ad monetization. I don't know how many of you are game developers, game studios, but there is always a confrontation between the product manager and the monetization manager, between when do we show ads? Because if we'll start showing it in session #1, we'll hit a huge funnel of users. All the people that download the game will see ads. But what will happen is that nobody will convert. They'll see an ad from Machine Zone or Playtika or one of the Supercells or one of the top grossing companies and say, hey, that's a better game. I'll just move to that game and I'll spend my money over there. So one, you want to show ads because you want to monetize the 98%, but then you don't want to show it too early because you don't want to lose your top grossing users. And cross-promotion, because we've launched a lot of games through the years, and we spent a lot of money on Facebook and other platforms in user acquisition. But in terms of cross-promotion, we understood that we keep on doing the same things that we've done 8 years ago, in terms of, let's show them an ad, like every other ad network, not taking any advantage of the fact that it's our game. So the only thing that we take as an advantage is the fact that it doesn't cost us money. So we can just show them pictures of our new games and hope they will download it. So when we decided we have a problem, we said, okay, there are tools out there that can fix it for us. So let's take one of these tools. So we started with analytics, which is the basic thing. Everybody needs analytics. So you get an understanding of what's going on. You get an understanding of what you need to fix. And you might have an idea how to fix it, but that's a very long cycle. I'll show it in a couple of slides, but it's a long cycle and you don't always know how you can fix the problem with analytics. Segmentation, great, but what you do with these segments, even if it's very advanced predictive analytics that gives you the segment of who's going to churn, who's going to convert, etc., what do you do with this information? And after you took a decision what to do with this information, how do you check if it worked or not? You have the push notification and dynamic pricing, which presents a new problem, because if you do dynamic pricing, people start sharing screenshots. Hey, I can buy this tank in 10 coins, and I can buy this tank in 100 coins. And after they understand they pay more than another user, they feel cheated, and they leave the game. And you have the marketing automation that basically interacts with the user, offering them a lot of discounts, more for your money, etc. And what this causes on the long term is inflation. This is where we started, really, to interact with the users and say, OK, you have 50% discount on in-app purchase. Go. And this is the spike we saw. This is a real picture of what happened when we activated it's not marketing automation, but 50% discount on in-app purchase. Users react. Like the sales went from few hundreds an hour to over almost $2,000 an hour. And that's a big spike, right? So we were happy. But we were happy for a very limited time because the day after looked very bad. We call it hangover effect. So you're very happy when you drink, but you need to wake up in the morning and face what happened yesterday. So yes, we've done a lot of money yesterday, but the next day, people don't need any more coins, so they don't buy. So we see a long-term effect that in most cases will be worse than not doing anything. And the worst thing we saw when we've done something like this is that we increased churn. And there is a very simple psychological explanation for that. People are moving from the linear progression in the game. They have a lot of coins, so they buy something from the end of the funnel, and then they lose interest because it's not challenging anymore. It's very nice for the next few minutes, but then it's not challenging. So this is how the market works today. So you have all kinds of analytic systems, for better or worse, that process the data. You have the analysts, you have the marketing people analyzing it. You have then the tools you need to use in order to interact with the users based on the information that you collected. So every step of the way takes between hours to days. And what happens in this few days process is that you lose a lot of users, and worse than that, you lose a lot of sweet points, points where the user actually could convert, or you can stop him from churning. Sorry. So this is what we built, basically. We built a system that collects the data in real time, sends it to the cloud. The cloud then clusters or segments, etc., in real time, interacts with the user automatically in order to prevent churn or to increase monetization, and then checks automatically by comparing to the control group if the reaction to the interaction to the user was good or bad. After he understands if it was good or bad, he knows which offers are good for every user, segment, cluster, etc. The monetization goes in the same way. I brought two examples from real users in one of our games that actually converted, but in a very different way. Because conversion might seem like a very generic word per game, but users behave differently. I don't know if you can see it, but this user, he started to play here, and he started to spend, after 2 days, $1,500 a day. So he played 7 sessions and spent $5,000 within the first 5 days he was playing, and then he left the game. Okay? That's a really strange user, okay? But it's a real user. This user made his first in-app purchase after 2,180 sessions in the game. Again, it's an extreme example, but this shows the two extremes of how users behave differently, and if you don't deal with them differently, you will lose one of them. I would have to lose this one, but this one is a long-term user, and as you can see, he's playing more than one game, so it's a loyal user. But each one needs something else, and you cannot monetize 100% the same way. So the 98% are the people that are not monetizing. I mean, they don't monetize within a purchase, and you want to deal with them in a different way than you deal with the people that you want to show them ads. So when you understand in very early stage of the game who is not going to convert, you can basically start showing them ads right in the first session. You don't need to wait 5 days or 50 days until you're showing ads. You can start in the beginning. If you know these people are not going to pay, show them an offer wall, monetize them through other ways. And the 2%, they will never see ads because you don't want them to go anywhere. So what did we build, basically? What's the dream platform that we went to build? So fully automated. meaning throw the SDK inside and do nothing. Just check that it keeps on performing, but you don't need to manage, you don't need to segment, to interact, to check your reactions, etc. Let the machine learning learn, and the AI do the actions for you. Boosting purchase revenues, that's the first goal of the system. Act and learn across all my games, which we just learned in the last few months. We launched 4 months ago. We learned that many companies that have more than one game, they don't use cross-games information, which is really surprising. So if you have payers in game number 1, you don't use this information in game number 2. So that's part of the system. Learn inside the studio from all the games. So take advantage of the fact that somebody played another game when you interact with him with this current game. Keep my VIPs, so make sure that the top players that are spending money get what they need in order to stay in the game. Monetize aggressively the non-payers, so when the system understands that somebody is not going to pay, it should be dealt totally differently from a user that is going to pay. GDPR friendly, so not collecting any personal information, and it should be fun. So the system was designed by game designers. So the B2B is quite addictive. I think we can compete with Facebook with how many logs in per day our users have to the dashboard, but it can be fun. Data can be fun. I'll run really fast. It gives LTV per user, per country, automatically. No need anymore for calculation. The bottom line is that you see an increase of 20 to 25% in the revenues, I mean in-app purchase revenues. It has the day 7 retention because the system works on churn prevention, and it has the conversion rate and ARPU on the other side in the monetization. We acquired AppStatic. I don't know if you guys are familiar with AppStatic. We bought them last month. AppStatic is a developer tool that shows real-time App Store ranking across the different stores in the world. So you have a game, you see in which country you are what number, and if you went up or down, real-time App Annie, just to translate it for people who are not aware. The whole idea and everything that we try to do with Game of Wells is to take the set of action that we used to do manually, pour it into the data, and automate the decision. So when we had the studio, I used to access AppStatic at least twice a day to see where we are in each country, etc. So the whole idea is that we shall now pour this information into the system to make a smarter decision-making. And again, just to recap on everything, you put an SDK inside and you let the data divide the users by their behavior and not by any generic information like gender, country, etc. Just by their behavior, find the similar behaviors across the different games. Behavioral profiling of a user based on few games, interaction based on that, and then auto-optimization compared to the control group to make sure that the results that we are showing are increased compared to the control group and not compared to what was there yesterday. That's it. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have any questions for Doron? All right, well, actually, I've got a question for you. Does the machine learning and the kind of the process you outlined work better for one particular genre of game than another? Hyper-casual, core games? Talk about that.
The more complicated the game is, the better performance we can do, because as opposed to humans that can take into consideration few parameters, 5, 6, 12 parameters into account, the machine can take hundreds of parameters into account. So for simple games, it's a challenge for the system. The more complex the game is and the more in-game items that the game have, the better for us in terms of performance.
Okay. You're judging complexity by the size of the IAP catalog?
Not just in a purchase catalog. In-game catalog, how many items you can buy in the game, how many currencies you have in the games. Okay. The more events the game have, the more complex it is, and the way for the machine learning to shine is easier.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Yes, over here. There's a mic coming soon. There we go.
Thank you. What kind of accuracy can we expect from the machine learning?
What kind of?
Accuracy.
Accuracy?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's no accuracy. There is what's the difference between the control group, which is a walled garden group of users that we don't touch, to the campaign group, the users that we touch. So what you can see is the increase, the difference between users that are not touched by the system to users that are touched by the system. We are looking at 20–25% increase between the control group and the campaign group.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Got another question over here.
Thank you. Related to the accuracy question, how much data do you sort of need to start that so that the system starts working properly?
So the main thing is that the more data we get, the better. But we can start with very few in-app purchases. So we have an indie developer. It's my favorite. There are 3 people from Spain working from home, and they have maybe 10 in-app purchases per day. So it takes more time for the system to start acting, but there is no limit. Even the smallest indie developer, they can start. It will take longer. It will take longer for the system to perform and to make the prediction and to check if the prediction is right, etc. So it's not a matter of what's the entry level. It's a matter of how long before the system can perform. Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Doron. Appreciate it.
Thank you.